What's up? Welcome to Geeks First. Today, I'm gonna crack a box and talk about your local gaming store. Enjoy. Alright, so we haven't actually done a box opening in a while, and oddly enough, I wanted to open this box to celebrate a couple of conversations that I've had with several different LGSs locally, and also just in general to celebrate one of the LGSs that I know that is moving into a larger space. So they have done the impossible, right? That's what everybody says. You can't own an LGS. You can't be successful with an LGS. You can't grow and celebrate the community in 2022, 2023, 2024. Well, I am here to say that that's wrong, and they are doing just fine. Now, what's amazing to me is I am actually seeing a huge uptick, especially as I start watching a lot more content. I mean, I consume quite a bit of the flesh and blood content that is on the YouTube's land. And the negativity, as Rudy would say, the negativity of the 2022 Fab will go nowhere, Fab is a scam, is all gone. And in several of his more recent videos, I can't even begin to tell you the amount of positive comments I have seen come through on his videos. And it amazes me when you start thinking of the positivity, the general positivity. It's awesome. And that leads me into why, because the celebration of the local game store gets a good jump start on this year, because Fab has some real bangers coming down the pipeline. And let me tell you, I'm for one very excited. And this year can yield quite a bit of very unique surprises for Flesh and Blood if everything is handled, I would say, correctly. And I don't see any reason to doubt that it wouldn't be handled correctly. And what I mean by that is essentially the current set releases, the hype over the PvE, obviously Outsiders or Foil Rob the Riches, Foil Long Shot, you know, those hype sets, the hype train, the LGS growing the community. Basically, I am seeing an uptick in people joining the Discord server in Indiana, which is where I'm at. I'm seeing an uptick in communication from players and collectors wanting to kind of get together. Not only, you know, I think there's unofficial events that are happening outside of LGSs. We have a place here in town called Dungeons and Donuts, or Dungeons and Donuts, I think, yeah. But we've had several meetups there. I've been unable to attend those meetups because of some other conflicts. But needless to say, there have been meetups at these events outside of the typical LGS, and it's awesome to see those meetups occur, especially on nights where LGSs aren't hosting events, which leads me into the celebratory LGS component, which is that the LGSs here are, from the sounds of it, they're working together, which I am excited to see. There's a Sandscour Great Bow for those upcoming Outsiders players, but followed by a drill shot. But what's awesome about them working together is that the stores are starting to coordinate, because our group is becoming large enough in our geographic region to start having multiple nights a week where we could, in theory, host or house different events. And it sounds like they're all willing to work together, which is great, because that's part of the community, right? That's part of what we want to see. We want to have that community build. We want to understand where they're coming from, and we want to make sure that as people get together and enjoy this hobby, that these stores aren't really trying to fight too much for the clientele. Because a good example is we have an upcoming pre-release, obviously, for Outsiders. We have a couple of them slated to be in the geographic region where I'm at. And one of the issues that we've discovered is that two of the LGSs currently have their pre-release event on basically the same day within an hour or two of each other, which means it'd be impossible. So you have to split the community. It sounds like they're working to hopefully alleviate that, and that camaraderie between the stores will only result in more money for both stores and more fun and more growth for the community. Because if that's the case, I'm going to go to all of them. I'm going to go to the one on Friday that's scheduled, and I'm going to go to the 2 or 3 that, if we can figure it out and get everything coordinated, I would go to basically all 4 events, because it is an exciting time to get in and crack some skulls here and just be like, I wanna see what's in the new set, because cracking packs is fun. Obviously, you need to do it responsibly, but foil skull crack. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. But it is awesome to see the camaraderie starting to sprout up. And for this one particular LGS, as an example, they have grown outside of where they were originally at. They are a newer-ish store, but they have kind of had a very interesting story, and that's one of those stories that I'd actually like to document long-term. I'd love to maybe talk with them and see if I can get them sometime to allow me to be on the channel, or have them come on the channel, for lack of a better word, and talk about their humble, I would say humble beginnings. I'm going to call it humble. That's my words, because if I remember correctly, this particular LGS actually started as a vendor in like a flea market, and has since grown into, I would almost go so far as to say, premier stores in the general area. And they are very much willing to support the community, and that is more of what I want to see. I want to see a lot more community growth, and in order to facilitate that, we have to have these stores willing to work with pride. We have to work. They have to work on basically not being too prideful, but also allowing themselves to be humble and know that, yeah, you're going to possibly lose a little bit of business to your competitors, but in the grand scheme of the things, people are going to go to every store. Now, obviously, it makes sense for folks to go to the closest LGS that they have, unless there's some outstanding reason why not. But as an example for myself, I am like smack dab in the middle between probably about 5 LGSs, which is not the typical standard for most folks that exist in, I would say, the continental United States. It's pretty uncommon. The density of LGSs that we have here in my metropolitan area is, to me, a pretty big oddity. Cleve. That's an interesting one. I haven't seen that very much. But I think the other thing that is also telling is a lot of folks that are getting into the game right now, especially post SCG Con. You've probably seen some of those documentary pieces that I put out, which was interviews with some of the folks that were at the event, and to me they were gold. I mean, I very much appreciated all of them spending the time. Mark Poole was amazing to meet, at least get to do that interview. I've seen him at some other prior events years past. He's typically always at Gen Con, but I just never really had much reason to go up and chat with him, because even though I liked Magic a lot, I'm very much more invested emotionally in Flesh and Blood. So to get to do that interview was kind of an awesome thing. But I digress. But basically, having the community together. Oh, we got a Marvel Crouching Tiger. Look at that. It's marvelous that the community is allowing everyone to basically not only play at stores. People are starting to play at coffee shops, at home. I mean, it's 2 years ago, I was struggling to find 5 people that I could get together to do something. Now, funny enough, I'm not necessarily the one that goes to all the events, because I am pretty busy. And obviously, in order for me to create content, that also means that I must spend a significant amount of time working through all the details of getting all that set up and filmed, configured, all that other stuff. So it's kind of, when I play, I try to go to an armory maybe once a week if I can, but if I can't make it to an armory, but that's one of the reasons I'm glad that these LGSs that are closer to me are starting to ramp up stuff. Dang, we hit a surgical extraction. Look at that. The fact that was short printed, I'll be curious to see if they do anything for a promo, or maybe if they were lucky enough to know it was short printed, they put it in Outsiders. So kudos to maybe that. I don't know. But it's exciting to me this is an exciting time. I cannot put it into any further words how much more interaction I'm seeing, the ramp, the growth, the tremendousness of what people are discussing, the conversations. Obviously, there's, the whole player versus price conversation, but out of all the LGSs that I'm aware of that are working on this, you have to have value. Like, a good example is this is basically paid for this box, I'm pretty sure. Now, if these didn't get hit, such as Tales of Aria, or even WTR technically, or somewhat Crew, or somewhat, Arcane Rising, certainly Monarch, things that are not currently in meta, things that are not really like excruciatingly hard to hit. There's this argument that why would I want to open a box? Why would a store want to bust a box open to put singles on their shelf when the average of that value of the box is very low? So that's something that needs to be figured out long term, and I don't know where that's going to end up. But that's not the point of this conversation. The point of this conversation is to celebrate the local game store, to celebrate, that these stores are beginning to have a good selection of players join, and I know that your area is probably much different than where I'm at here, so I can only speak to what I've experienced, what I've heard, but it's exciting to see that the player base is growing. It's exciting to see that folks want to get out and play the game, that essentially even all the different avenues of play, and once PvE drops, I'm going to go ham on PvE. Like, I am so very excited about that. I'm excited to see this, this year's worth of stuff. I'm already planning some stuff for Baltimore when I get out there. Got a foil arachne, that's cute. I'll buy a foil reincarnate. I'm really hoping to maybe line up some interviews with some of the I won't say celebrities, but some of the other YouTubers. I'd like to try to maybe get some of the LSS individuals, or some of the artists, even professional players. I may not be the best to interview the professional players because I'm not as up on the meta, but it'd be interesting to maybe get some different day in the life of kind of videos. I'm probably going to even work on my vlog, which is something I plan on trying to get together, so that as I go out there, I'll have something to kind of bring back and encompass this entirety of this trip, because it's going to be a fun trip. I'm going to definitely have some pretty good memories from what I can see. It sounds like I'm going to get to meet a lot of great people, and that all boils back down to the LGSs here are growing the game, which is getting more people to join, and that in turn is going to have more folks that I can hang out with, shoot the shit, and enjoy opening, playing, conversating, deck teching, and just all around having a blast with Flesh and Blood. Now, as we wrap down the packs we got here, it's it's interesting that singles right now are a little bit weird, and that's one of the conversations I've been having with my local stores, is that most of the time when a player gets in, they don't want to buy a box, they want to buy cards that fit their class. So if they want to play Assassin, they're going to need Assassin cards. And one of the things that I'm discovering is that there is a pretty hard time to get a hold of some types of cards from certain classes, from certain sets, unless you have folks that have opened a large quantity of cards. Case in point here, we got the Great Bow, which is obviously going to be a card that most people that want to get into Azalea or even Lexi would probably want to have as an option. And Dynasty is a good example of a set that it's very large, so it's hard to hit any one specific card, which then goes back to the stores need to open product to have the products to sell. It's interesting. But I digress. And you can see my little sparkles. I know people have talked about that, but like I can very much see, like, there is definitely, I'm going to take a photo of that. There is definitely some sparkly bits all over the playmat here, and That is the spice of Flesh and Blood right there. That's going to be what the next set's all about. So I'm super stoked for Outsiders. Spoilers from a lot of these content creators are coming. Seems pretty soon. So it's February 19th today. This video will probably come out a couple days after this. And probably I would go so far as to say that that you're probably going to see spoilers like beginning of, I think there's a spoiler season March 3rd, 4th, 5th, something like that. So it's a very consolidated spoiler season this time. And I really, really hope we don't see a massive amount of stupid buyouts again. It's going to happen. The game obviously is growing. People are joining. The amount of cards that exist today, I don't know if it's going to satisfy the masses as we get other countries involved at this point, such as the Japan onboarding and Brazil coming on board. Obviously, with newer products like Dynasty and Uprising and Outsiders, even History Pack, I feel like those are going to be very prepared sets. They'll be able to get to that. But I'm not really confident on where things are going to be with the older stuff. Monarch, I know people say there's a lot of it. I'm going to politely disagree with that sentiment. And I have my personal reasons that I don't believe that the amount of product that people think exists is what's out there. But at the same time, a store has to open the box to get the products into the players' hands. Right now, those heroes are not really relevant enough in the meta. But when another set comes out and there is a light or a shadow or a remake of a character who's gone living legend, those will probably come back into the eye of being popular. So yeah, I got some great conversations as of late. I have some cool stuff that's coming out that I need to finish editing. I had some great conversations, and I very much look forward to many more of those. And to my local gaming stores here in the Central Indiana region, thank you for all your effort, and for the particular store that has expanded, I wish you the absolute best of luck. And until next time, Jacob signing out. Have a good one.